Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the topic that many of us struggle with: how to stay grounded in real world situations, especially when life presents high risk moments. Whether you're at a party, dealing with food pushers, or traveling on vacation, these are moments where we can easily feel off track. But here's the good news: you don't have to navigate these challenges alone. In this video, I'll walk you through practical tools that can help you stay aligned with your goals, even when you're faced with temptation or stress. We also talk about the brain science behind cravings and decision making, as well as how parts work can help us understand and manage the different parts of ourselves that show up in high stress situations. So let's get started. Let's start by talking about three situations where we're most likely to encounter difficulty: parties, food pushers, and vacations. These are times when it feels like external circumstances are making it harder to stay on track. But with the right strategies, you can manage them effectively. We'll begin with parties and food pushers. When you're at a social event, whether you're hosting or attending, food is often at the center of the experience. Then there's the pressure, whether it's someone offering you a second helping or joking about how much food they're eating. It can be hard to say no, especially when you don't want to appear rude or make others uncomfortable. But if you're trying to stay on track with your health goals, this can be a real challenge. From a brain science perspective, our brains are hardwired to seek rewards, especially when food is involved. When we see or smell food we enjoy, our dopamine system is activated. Dopamine is the feel good neurotransmitter. It makes us feel good when we get something we want. This system is incredibly powerful and makes resisting tempting foods difficult. We're literally biologically driven to seek food that gives us pleasure. This is why social events centered around food can feel especially challenging. This is where parts work comes into play. Think about the part of you that wants to be polite or avoid conflict or fit in with a group. This is often your people pleaser part. It's not necessarily trying to sabotage you, it just wants to make everyone happy and maintain harmony. The key here is not to fight this part, but to acknowledge it and allow yourself, the calm, centered, decision making part of you, to step in. Yourself knows what's best for you in the long run. To support this process, reinforcement tools like background listening can help keep your mind engaged. When you're in a social setting, listen to something that reinforces your commitment to your health goals. It doesn't have to be loud or demanding, just something in the background to remind you of your bigger picture. This keeps yourself in control, allowing you to make intentional choices rather than defaulting to your people pleaser part. Now let's talk about the times when you're prepping food or cleaning up. These might seem like simple tasks, but they can be ripe opportunities for mindless eating. You're cooking, cleaning, or just preparing food for others, and before you know it, you've grabbed a bite or two without even thinking about it. Here's where brain science comes in. When we repeatedly engage in behavior, our brain creates a habit loop. The brain essentially wires itself to make those actions automatic. When you're distracted, whether you're chopping vegetables or cleaning dishes, your brain might slip into an automatic response and trigger cravings or snacking without you even realizing it. This happens because our basal ganglia, the part of the brain that controls habits and motor functions, becomes engaged, making the action feel automatic. To interrupt this habit loop, you might want to engage a different part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, the decision making part of the brain. One way to do this is through background listening. Playing supportive content such as affirmations or podcasts while you're prepping food or cleaning helps to engage your prefrontal cortex. This keeps you mentally present, helping you override automatic habits and stay on track with your goals. By using reinforcement tools, you can reshape those old automatic habits into new, healthier behaviors that align with your intentions. Now, let's return to the issue of food pushers. These are people, often family or friends, who encourage you to eat more than you planned or pressure you into eating something you've decided to avoid. It's a tricky situation, especially when you don't want to upset anyone, but you also want to stay true to your health goals. From a parts work perspective, when faced with food pushers, we may experience a tug of war inside of us. The people pleaser part wants to maintain harmony and avoid conflict, while the self knows what's best for our long term health goals. This inner conflict can feel overwhelming, especially when we don't want to upset others. What you need here is to engage the self, the part of you that knows what's best for you. When you recognize that your people pleaser part is coming to the forefront, you can pause and allow yourself to step in and take control. You can calmly and confidently decline, knowing you're doing what's best for you. Using reinforcement tools ahead of time, whether it's a podcast or affirmations or writing a play, helps prepare you mentally so that when the moment comes, you don't feel caught off guard. You'll be able to stand your ground with confidence, knowing that this decision aligns with your long term goals. And finally, let's discuss vacations. Traveling is another big challenge, as it often involves a break from routine, which can make it feel like you've completely lost control. When you're away from your usual environment, you might find it harder to stick to your eating and exercise habits. You're surrounded by new food choices, a different social structure, and sometimes a lack of routine, all of which can trigger old habits. The brain's stress response system, particularly the amygdala, can also activate when we're outside our normal routine, triggering us to seek comfort, often through food. To manage this, reinforcement tools like audio content can keep yourself engaged even when you're stressed or overwhelmed. When you listen to content that reaffirms your commitment, it engages your prefrontal cortex, which helps override the stress driven impulses from your amygdala. Even on vacation, you can stay mentally aligned with your goals by using these tools. By preparing ahead of time, downloading content, or reading affirmations during travel, you'll feel more grounded and less likely to let stress or change derail your progress. Now that we've covered the specific situations, let's talk about how to match your reinforcement tools with the real world challenges you're facing. Before you enter any high risk environment, whether it's a social gathering, dealing with food pushers, or going on vacation, take a few moments to preload your support tools. This could mean downloading podcasts, reviewing your affirmations, or setting up an audio playlist that reinforces your goals. The more prepared you are, the easier it is to handle those moments when pressure hits. Once you're in the thick of things, it's time to use your tools. Keep them handy so that you can use them when needed. Whether you're at a party, dealing with food pushers, or on vacation, having your reinforcement tools ready will help you stay aligned with your goals. They provide a mental anchor and help you stay calm, grounded, and focused on what really matters. Before we end, I want you to take a few moments to reflect. Grab your journal and consider the following prompts. These questions will help you process the strategies we've discussed and apply them to your life. Number one, what are the most common social situations that challenge your ability to maintain control? How do these situations make you feel? Think about the times when you struggled. What triggers those struggles? How does it feel to be in those moments? Number two, when faced with food pushers, how do you typically respond? What strategies might help you handle these interactions better in the future? Reflect on your responses to food pushers. How can you bring in more of yourself to confidently decline? Number three, in what ways have you used reinforcement tools in the past and what was the outcome? What would you do differently next time? Look back on times when you've used reinforcement tools. What worked well? What could you adjust for the next time? Number four, think about a time when you traveled or went on vacation. How did you manage your health and well-being during that time? What support tools could you have used to improve your experience? Vacations are tricky. How did you manage while traveling? What tools could have made it easier to stay on track? As we finish up today's video, just remember that you have the tools to stay on track. Whether you're at a party, dealing with food pushers, or navigating a vacation, you can rely on reinforcement tools and stay connected to yourself. By recognizing the different parts of you that show up in challenging situations, whether it's the people pleaser part or yourself, you can make intentional choices that align with your long-term goals. Preload your tools, use them when you need them, and stay grounded. Thank you for joining me today. We're in this together, and I'm confident that you can handle any challenge that comes your way. Take it one step at a time, and I'll see you in the next video.